You know, J-Mac, I was thinking about something this morning, an overarching theme to start the show for the first 10 to 12 minutes. And I eat basically the same breakfast. I have the same routine every day. I get up, I have a strong coffee, I'll get in the treadmill, may have an English muffin, have a smoothie before the show. And I live, as much as everybody's searching for new stuff, if I, for instance, want to watch sports on TV, I go to NBC, Fox, CBS, I know where to go. Mm-hmm. I don't go to Netflix. I don't go to Hulu. I go to the standard places where I've always watched sports. And I have this theory about the NFL that we think you never know who's going to win these games. But I believe for two reasons, the NFL is going to get, starting 3 years ago, you're seeing a trend, much more predictable. And that's my jumping off point today is this. So when I make NFL predictions, now I have two more tweaks to my predictions. I'm always looking for new teams to make the playoffs. And the one team I've looked at is Joe Burrow is going to make the playoffs, right? So I want to go to a quote from the Washington Post about a general manager talking about the Bengals. And he talks about Mike Brown, and he says, it's the same old Mike Brown BS, said one general manager, condition of anonymity to avoid violating the NFL tampering rules. It's the same crap that's been going on since Boomer Esiason and Carson Palmer. History always repeats itself. And I've said this before. If Carson Palmer would have gotten like a Sean Payton or an Andy Reid, we would consider Carson Palmer a top 4 or 5 quarterback ever. And I worry that Joe Burrow, same organization, same ownership, it's going to be the same thing. If Joe Burrow gets an Andy Reid, he's hoisting the trophies, not Patrick Mahomes. And I really firmly believe that. So I've thought about the Bengals a lot because I'm always looking for new playoff teams, right? Because there's like 7 a year, right? Well, not actually. Last 3 years, it keeps coming down. Why is that happening? So we have mini camps, OTAs, and the first week or so of training camp. So I have new information. So I looked over my predictions. I've got one more tweak. This will not be the official tweak, but I looked over my predictions that I made a few months ago. So in the AFC, for instance, Josh Allen's going to win the division for as long as he's in his prime. The Patriots are the safest double your win total bet in the league in 5 years. Dolphins, Jets. I wouldn't change a thing. AFC North prediction, Ravens are the class of this division, and I mean, really one of the top 3 organizations in the league. I think because of all the noise around the Bengals, all because of ownership, I'd probably move the Bengals out. Steelers, Browns, just not good enough. AFC South is weak. Texans are going to win the division. They have arguably the best coach and absolutely the best quarterback. In the AFC West, Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders. If I move Cincinnati out, because I've predicted they'll make the playoffs, I would put the Broncos in. They added Greenlaw, Hufanga, Evan Ingram. They're over-under on DraftKings is 9.5 wins. So if I was to make an AFC West prediction, my final big tweak, I'd get the Bengals out, and I'd move Sean Payton in. I'd get Noise out, and I'd get a guy I've relied on for 25 years in the league, Sean Payton, in. If I go to the NFC, it's the same basic theme. I like most of my picks. NFC East, Eagles, Commanders, class of the NFC East. Not close. Eagles, Commanders, class of the division. Giants, Cowboys, a mess. In the NFC North, here's where I would make my change for the same reason I get the Bengals out. I'd probably, because I think the Bears have been very noisy so far in minicamp, OTA, and training camp, I'd probably move the Bears out and the Packers in. Again, noise out like the Bengals, reliable Sean Payton, Green Bay Packers in. Vikings, J.J. McCarthy feel like a 4th-place team or a 3rd-place team. In the NFC South, weakest division, in my opinion, in football, Bucs class of the division, best GM, best quarterback. And, I'll take the Bucs. NFC West, again, I'm not as high on the Niners as J-Mac. I go Rams, Seahawks. The Niners have an easy schedule. I think they're old. I think the roster has holes. I think they wanted to keep Greenlaw and Hufanga. I do think Robert Saleh coming in helps. So, again, like the AFC, where I move the Bengals out, Sean Payton, I'd probably move in. I would probably move the noisy Bears out and the Packers in. But it's very interesting because I have spent, as my staff knows, I spend considerable amount of time trying to find new playoff teams. And if I made these 2 changes, I'd only have 2 new playoff teams. New England in the AFC and Seattle in the NFC. Well, wait a minute, I can't do that. Or can I? So there's more games than ever, right? They added a game, and they're going to add an 18th game. And the league's become more quarterback-centric. So those two things, in my opinion, are making the NFL a bit more like the NBA. I talked about this last year. The bottom of the league is really bad and feels miles away from the top of the league. You're seeing more spreads that are like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, it feels like to me last couple of years. That was always a college number. An NFL mismatch was like 8, 8.5. Now you're getting double-digit spreads. A lot, it feels like to me. So last year, there were only 4 new playoff teams. That's tied for the fewest in 20 years. We're on a 3-year trend of fewer new playoff teams. And I believe, as much as everybody, myself included, wants change, the NFL is going to become the NBA. You kind of know. I mean, go look at the AFC. I was looking at this morning. If you go look at the AFC, who's made the divisional round the last 2 years? Oh, Ravens, Bills, Kansas City. Doesn't it feel like it's the same teams every year? So my take is everybody says they want change. I think going forward, when we go to an 18th game, and I've said this is the danger of extending the NFL season, 2 more games from several years ago, and making the league incredibly quarterback-centric. You're going to have a clear top and a really ugly bottom, and it's going to become very predictable. So I don't think we're going to have 6 and 7 new playoff teams this year. I am struggling outside of maybe Joe Burrow and the Niners. I'm struggling to find new playoff teams. Now, last year, because of Bo Nix, who was exceptional as a rookie, and Jaden Daniels, the Broncos in Washington, surprised us. But that was a really good quarterback draft class. This wasn't. And from that, I'll talk about another part of football that we thought we were going to see major changes in, and I think the opposite is true. So when the college football playoff was created, here's what you heard. Oh, finally, the little guy can compete. I mean, when you only have 4 teams, it's always going to be the big dogs. So there was this supposition, this belief, that you would have a lot of little guys that would have a chance to knock off the big dog. Actually, now with teams playing up to 16, 15 college games, same thing is true in the NFL. The deeper rosters have a much greater advantage. I mean, Ohio State in the playoff was rolling through teams. They just had more good players. They had more NFL bodies. And this morning I looked up the coaches' top 25 poll. The first 7 teams, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Clemson, Oregon, all made the playoff last year. And 8 and 9 are Bama and LSU, football powerhouses. Where are all the new teams? It's the same old, same old. In fact, I'll make the argument in the last 30 years of college football, there is only one new top 10 powerhouse. One. Oregon. And it took Phil Knight's money and vision. One new program. And by expanding the playoff to 12 teams, 14, 16, that doesn't help the little guy. Because a team like Arizona State, Cam Scatteraboo, great story. But they emptied the tank against Texas. Texas right now has 2 5-star freshman wide receivers. They're like 5th and 6th on the depth chart. They'd start for SMU. They'd start for Arizona State. And you get the occasional upset, but when you watched Indiana and Notre Dame play in the playoff, did you think the little guy had a fighting chance? That thing was over 2 series in. Did you watch the SMU game? So the old system, which Boise State could have one big bowl game against Oklahoma, Chris Peterson uses a trick play, and they knock off the Sooners, and the season ends in Boise, Idaho on a great note. Unbelievable TV game. Everybody in Idaho feels good. Those days are over. All those teams, the have-nots, are going to end their season with losses, and often ugly losses. So this idea that the NFL, you extend the season, you expand the playoffs. In college football, you expand it. No. Folks, everybody is trying to engineer parity, and it doesn't exist. People always separate. Businesses always separate. And so that's kind of my theme is college football now can have up to 15 games, and the NFL is expanding to 17, and now they're going to expand to 18 games, many believe, next year. It's not going to help the little guy. It's going to help the deeper roster, the richer organizations, the better quarterbacks, and a handful of great owners. All right, J-Mac, I know that could be a downer, but my guess is you basically watch football on the same 3 channels you did 20 years ago, and you also eat the same thing for breakfast most days.
Yes.
And that we're all creatures of habit, and everybody's seeking new stuff. But, in New York, if you could get a ticket to a concert, for a lot of people, it'd be a Billy Joel concert. Which would have been the case 20 years ago for New Yorkers.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I mean, we're very similar in terms of creatures of habit. Like, last week on vacation, I didn't wake up and go on Twitter and see what the news was. But now you're back, and that's kind of one of the first things you do, right? You got to see what's up on sports and what's happening.
Yeah, I think I understand people seeking new. It could be a mayoral race in New York. Everybody wants new and new and new. But in the end, people basically go back. What makes people happy psychologically are certainties and habits. That's what makes you happy. Not waking up every day with no idea what's going on. People want to work out. They want to walk their dog. They want to have their coffee. They want to play Wordle. They want to read the local paper. We are creatures of habit, and we're all seeking. We think football, college and pro, adding more playoff teams, expanding the playoffs, and adding more games. That all benefits the big dog. That all benefits that benefits Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas. That's who it benefits. It doesn't benefit SMU. It benefits the Longhorns.
I do wonder if, we briefly discussed the Packers yesterday as a team that's going to probably rise up. I'm surprised you're not on the Falcons. I got some really interesting data when we eventually talk about Atlanta. And I think, remember when you were on Tennessee earlier this summer? And you suddenly backed off the Titans. What happened?
Well, I didn't love them. I had them as a wild card team. But when their supposed number 1 receiver gets hurt, they get rid of him. Now they've got a roster full of number 3 and 4 receivers. Cam Ward is acknowledged. They're saying in camp they're struggling. It's become more and more of a wide receiver quarterback league. They're struggling. I mean, it always feels like they're light offensively. Yeah. So I didn't love them. New England's my guaranteed double your win total team, but I did think Cam Ward would add some electricity. But it's C.J. Stroud's the best quarterback in the division. C.J. Stroud made the playoffs. My guess is C.J. Stroud will make the playoffs again this year.
So just for the record, your C.J. Stroud is a better quarterback right now than Trevor Lawrence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would disagree, but...
Well, I did not believe that 2 years ago. I believe it now. I think C.J., to me, I don't buy he had an off season. Tunzel, the left tackle, didn't play well. They were missing 2 of their top receivers. He had a lot to overcome. I think C.J. Stroud's really, really good.